A soldier enters an enemy trench system where every corner could mean death. His mission sounds impossible. Cross 4 layers of defenses, survive hundreds of enemy soldiers, reach a hidden artillery position, and destroy the guns that are slowly cutting off an entire army's supplies. Because if he fails, thousands of soldiers on the front line may not survive. But what he discovers inside the trench reveals why this battlefield became one of the deadliest places in human history. During the First World War, armies didn't just fight across open fields. They built entire underground worlds, miles of trenches stretched across Europe, creating massive defensive systems designed to stop even the strongest attacks. The most famous of these was the Western Front, a 475-mile battlefield where British, French, American, and German forces fought for years with almost no movement. But behind these walls of mud, timber, and concrete was a hidden network of tunnels, command rooms, hospitals, and weapon storage areas. And one mission would force a soldier to travel through all of it. His target, a German long-range artillery position attacking the supply line, keeping Allied troops alive. Lieutenant Smith moves forward through the battlefield. Ahead is the enemy trench. The first thing he notices is the design. This is not a simple ditch dug into the ground. The trench system was built like a fortress. The first defensive layer was the front-line trench. This was where soldiers faced the enemy directly. Thousands of men could be positioned along each mile, waiting for an attack. But the most important feature was the shape. The trenches were never straight. They constantly turned and twisted, because if an enemy entered a straight trench, one soldier could fire down the entire line and destroy everyone inside. The zigzag design prevented that. Every corner created a new danger. Every turn forced soldiers to fight at close range. Smith moves deeper. He hears movement. A soldier approaches from around the corner. For a moment, he prepares for a fight. But it's Sergeant Collins, an old friend from home. They had survived years of war together. But there is no time for emotion. The mission continues. The Germans are using artillery to destroy the railway connecting Allied supplies to the front. Food, weapons, reinforcements. Everything depends on that route. Smith must reach the guns before more damage is done. But first, he has to survive the front line. Machine guns fire from reinforced positions. These weapons are placed carefully to cover entire sections of the battlefield. A soldier charging directly forward may survive. But when the guns fire across the side of advancing troops, entire groups can be trapped. Smith searches for the route deeper into the system. A communication trench. The pathway connecting one defensive layer to the next. He spots an enemy soldier. The man hasn't seen him. Smith fires. The soldier falls. But the trench keeps revealing more secrets. 8 feet below the surface, soldiers lived inside a carefully engineered environment. The walls were reinforced with timber. Sandbags protected against bullets and explosions. Wooden platforms covered the muddy floor. Underneath, drainage channels prevented the trenches from becoming flooded. Without them, rain could turn the entire battlefield into a deadly swamp. Small underground shelters were built into the walls. These were where soldiers slept, ate, and waited during bombardments. But the conditions were brutal. Dark, wet, crowded. This was home. The first breakthrough. Smith reaches the communication route, but a German officer blocks his path. A firefight begins. Smith wins, but he is hit. A bullet tears through his arm. There is no time to stop. Every soldier carried a small medical kit designed for emergencies. He quickly wraps the wound and keeps moving. Then he finds something important, a map. The German officer was carrying the entire trench layout. The location of the artillery is marked, but there is a problem. Smith is only halfway there. 3 more defensive zones remain. The second layer, Smith enters the support trench, and everything changes. Unlike the front line, this area is the machine keeping the battlefield alive. This is where soldiers sleep, where ammunition is stored, where supplies are prepared. The support trench contains thousands of soldiers ready to reinforce the front, but it is also heavily defended. Smith sees enemy troops blocking the route. He has one weapon left that can change everything, a grenade. He waits, counts, throws. The explosion clears the path. The battle continues, but then Smith sees something unexpected. The German positions are far more advanced than he imagined. Deep underground, Enemy soldiers have proper sleeping areas. Some even have electricity. Their rooms are reinforced with metal and concrete. Beds line the walls. Personal belongings sit beside them. Letters from home, photographs, small reminders that the soldiers fighting each other were still ordinary people. Not machines, just men trying to survive. The hidden truth of the trenches. As Smith moves deeper, he discovers the real purpose of these underground systems. They were not just places to fight. They were entire military cities. Command rooms controlled troop movements. Telephone networks carried orders. Signal flares communicated attacks. Medical stations treated wounded soldiers before they were sent away. And after 4 years of fighting, the scale of destruction was unimaginable. Millions had been killed or wounded. The trenches had become a world where survival depended on every small advantage. But Smith still had one final challenge: the reserve trench. The third defense. The reserve area is different. It is farther from the front line, safer, better protected. Soldiers here are rested and prepared to replace those fighting ahead. Deep underground are ammunition rooms protected by thick concrete. Storage areas keep weapons dry. Command centers coordinate everything. If these areas fall, the entire trench network begins to collapse. Smith waits for support. Then Allied soldiers finally arrive. Together they push forward. But suddenly, the enemy disappears. For a moment it seems easy. Then machine guns erupt. German shock troops attack. Smith is surrounded. Enemy soldiers close in from both directions. There is nowhere to run. But then he sees movement, a reflection. Using a small object from his pocket, Smith spots hidden soldiers approaching. He reacts instantly. The attack begins. When it ends, the path is clear. The final push. But there is a problem. German reinforcements are coming. They have less than an hour. Smith and Collins race toward the final section, the rear area. Above them, the battlefield has changed. Tanks are moving across the ground. A new weapon of war. For years, trenches had created a deadlock, but tanks gave armies a way to break through. The German defenses begin collapsing. Smith reaches the final communication trench. It stretches more than 1,000 feet. This is the last connection before the artillery. Then tragedy strikes. A hidden enemy soldier fires. Collins falls. Smith tries to save him, but he knows the truth. His friend cannot continue. The mission must go on. The final objective, Smith reaches the rear area. This section is different. It is not designed for direct fighting. It keeps the entire battlefield running. Supplies arrive here, fuel, food, weapons, ammunition, everything needed for war. And somewhere ahead, the artillery is waiting. Smith follows the map, through the trees, behind camouflage. He finally sees them. Massive long-range guns. The weapons responsible for destroying the supply route. The German soldiers surrender. The mission is complete. For months, these guns had controlled the battlefield. They had stopped supplies, delayed reinforcements, created hunger and suffering. But now, they are silent. And the fall of these weapons marks something bigger. The end of a battlefield built on defense. A war where soldiers didn't just fight above the ground. They fought through entire worlds hidden beneath it.